first, thank you for having me, and excited to be here. I think that's a two-part question. So my investment thesis evolved as I became more experienced as an investor, and that started long before blockchain and crypto. And by the time I started investing in blockchain and crypto, I actually had the advantage of not only having done angel and VC type deals in the past in other technology fields, but also having been a miner in the space. So I experienced the cyclical nature of crypto markets and crypto assets before investing in them, just by the virtue of mining some. So when you combine those, initially, I was in my investment career a very green investor. I was excited. I believed in the human capital and the value they bring. I still to this day invest in teams, not necessarily ideas or projects. And that carried with some maturation, that carried over to investing in blockchain. Now, blockchain as a whole evolved in and itself because initially the investors in the space were technologists, cypherpunks, cryptologists, people who made their fortunes with the blockchain technologies, with the appreciations of assets. So for them, it was a lot of tech speak in either understanding the project and wanting to make it better or not. If you fast forward to 2021, now it's more traditional type of investing where they're institutional investors. They look at the fundamentals, they look at the industry, they look at the business model. And I think my personal investment thesis also went from, let me support the community, let me support the new projects as much as I can. And, if I take a few losses here and there, guess what? That's a price I'm willing to pay because of how much I benefited from Bitcoin and Ethereum as a early adopter and investor. Fast forward to today, I'm a lot more selective in projects that I want to get involved with, not because my passion for the space has changed or my thesis in supporting projects has changed, but just because the sheer volume of new projects is making it more and more difficult to just support them, right? In 2016, there were 60 blockchain projects total in the world. Today, I'm sure if we look at an aggregator like CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, there's 6,000, 7,000 of them. So it's becoming more and more difficult to just invest in everything and support everything in the space. And that's made me more selective in what projects to get involved with and see, the more impactful ones through.
And that brings me to, reviewing your LinkedIn profile and seeing, so many different ventures that you supported, but you also supported these accelerators and networks globally that are trying to accelerate the space. And we created Infium for that reason, not knowing that this space was going to accelerate as fast as it is. But the bottom line is, did you feel that the accelerators in the blockchain space were helping you with your investment decisions, and or did that level of the deal flow help right now? How do you view those?
Well, I run an incubator myself, and we do accelerate some later stage deals. So absolutely, I'm a firm believer in the network effect. Even the projects that can be funded by a single investor, I always advise, if I have an opportunity to talk to the founders or original investors, I always advise them to grow the group, bring more people together, because all these projects, because of their decentralized nature, live and die by their communities. And what better way to create a solid community and advocacy for your project than have as many stakeholders as you can given that they need to be aligned with the mission, vision, and goal of the project, right? So if they're looking for a quick exit, a quick profit, they may not be the community that you want to go after. But short of that, if there is alignment, I think it's very important to use the accelerators, use the incubators in the space, even for the well-funded projects, and benefit from their networks, their communities, to accelerate the adoption and growth of the business.
So when you look at these consensus economies, which is what a lot of the native chains were created on, how important is the community? And I've spoken to so many native chains when I was working with Mike and with Bit Angels. I think a couple hundred of the top companies at that time. And it seems to me that there was this war going on between the chains to get the best developers and then to get the best project. How difficult that is, and is that something, as you invested in these projects, that you found was a hurdle, creating of that community?
How difficult it is depends on how prepared you are. For any business, creating a user base, creating a customer base, creating a community around it to get it to the critical mass where it starts self-sustaining and sustaining the team members and becoming profitable is obviously a major milestone. I don't necessarily think it's become less or more difficult in the past 5 years in the space. There has been a shift again from creating brand new groups to taking existing groups of communities or pools or people and bringing them into your project. It's key. It's crucial for early success of these projects. I mean, I'm sure there are several blockchains that are amazing that or applications on the blockchains that I've never heard of. So, I mean, if I don't know about them, there's no interaction, and they go and disappear. And I've had this happen to me a couple of times where I discover a project, I get so excited about it. I'm like, wow, this is a great idea, and then I see that it died 2 years ago because of lack of funding, lack of activity, something like that. And it's a shame that some people don't pay the right amount of attention to what's needed before launching something, and then after launching, and then after having secondary market liquidity to support the life cycle of what they're building. So I think it's very important to be to plan for it and be prepared to invest the time and money into building the communities.
In terms of the utility token launches, which you have witnessed and participated in, so many as we all have, getting into the market early on, with this newest Bitcoin and Ether kind of uptake in the marketplace, maybe Cardano's up today, et cetera. There's like a handful of cryptocurrencies that now institutional investors are paying attention to, and all the people coming into the space are paying attention to subsequently. How are all the altcoins that are actually creating real companies and we've all helped build over the years, how are they going to get above the noise now? Because they're not DeFi, they're not an NFT. What can they do?
Wow, I mean, that's a difficult question, and it's not a straight up answer. I think any company that's not DeFi or NFT that solves for a problem in a specific industry or for a group of people who would benefit from it has an opportunity to rise above the noise, as you put it, just by having a laser sharp focus into that group or that issue within those industries or that industry. I know it's not specific enough because it's a general question, but if you can have a focus and truly identify the stakeholders that are going to benefit the most, those are not the people investing in Bitcoin or Ethereum. So let's say you're solving for an issue in healthcare, COVID tracking, cancer tracking, whatever it is, like some sort of application of blockchain that's going to really change the healthcare industry. If you go after, Bitcoin funds and Ethereum funds, of course, they're not going to be interested because their alpha is Bitcoin and Ethereum, and your project is outside of that, and there's a high risk because it's a startup and things like that. Now, if you go into investors in the healthcare space that are hungry for tech solutions and new technologies that they can bring into the space because they have their roots in healthcare and medicine and pharmaceuticals and what have you, it's going to be a completely different conversation. And you're not going to talk about these top 5 coins or crypto. You're going to talk about the problem. Here's the problem. Here's how we're solving it. If you want to know how the sausage is made, here is the technology stack, and blockchain is a part of it. But I always tell people since maybe 2019 that the hype of saying I'm a crypto company, I'm a blockchain company is in the past. It's no longer a deal closer. So don't go in saying I'm using Cardano to do this, because they may not know what Cardano is, and who cares? We don't know what technologies are in our phones. I mean, no one knows what the 7 layers of internet is, but they still use the internet. They benefit from it. They invest in internet-enabled companies. They invest in cell phones. They buy cell phones. So we need to change the dialogue as entrepreneurs and people building in the space, from I'm a blockchain company to no, I'm a healthcare records provider. I'm a healthcare solutions provider, and this is the problem I'm solving. If you approach it that way, then you rise above the noise. You stop competing with funds going into Bitcoin and Ethereum and whatever other top tradable and investable crypto assets are, and you're focusing on your business. I think that's the best way to cut through the noise and get to the right audience that's going to appreciate what you're building.
Yeah, solving real problems. But now, just to bring you back to all of the cool things all the cool acronyms. Is DeFi really going to replace, centralized finance? And are NFTs really going to be helpful in building next generation entertainment companies? Do you see this as something that's going to develop in the next couple of years, 5 years, et cetera?
I'll start with NFTs because that's a quicker answer in my mind. People, by human nature, love collecting stuff. There's collectors that are, very with discerned taste that collect very select few things, all the way to the other end of the spectrum where we have hoarders that collect everything, including trash. But it's human nature to collect things. When you create a digital asset that's unique and collectible, guess what happens? People want it. I mean, it started with CryptoKitties that crashed Ethereum network for months at a time. And since then, virtual land, virtual art, pretty much anything that virtual, sports cards, memorabilia. There's so much that people already collect, and collecting a physical object takes space. So eventually, if you don't run out of money to spend on your collection habit, you go into running out of space, and then needing a bigger home, storage, so forth. So do I believe NFT space is going to grow and is here to stay? Absolutely, because it speaks to human nature and it addresses a need we have to collect. What direction it goes? Is it going to be high art? Is it going to be crazy new AR, VR art? Or is it just going to be baseball cards that are digitized and now with unique identifiers? Only time will tell. But one of those areas is going to take off, and NFTs are going to be the technology behind it. just for our viewers, NFTs are non-fungible tokens. Each one is unique. So, you can issue a limited amount of those tokens to associate with a type of image, 3D image, music, whatever creation you have. DeFi is something I'm very passionate about because of my background. And I think DeFi may not replace all of the traditional finance, and definitely not quickly, but it is gonna, and I find myself saying this often in blockchain, which I like, it's gonna democratize access to different financial products. So right now there is a financial elite that lives in countries like United States and Europe, and maybe Hong Kong, Japan. They have access to lines of credit facilities, credit cards, bank accounts, things like that. And there are some really interesting products there that are only available to high net worth individuals. You and I don't get offered those products because the banks don't see retail users as that important to target. With DeFi, because you're taking out the middleman, the gatekeeper who says you're not worthy of a credit rate swap because you don't have hundreds of millions of dollars, but this institutional investor is, you're taking that out. And because you're taking that out and you're able to do it in much smaller amounts, now, you don't need millions of dollars to do a swap. You can do it for hundreds of dollars, tens of dollars, based on what the network fees are and what makes sense. You're democratizing access to these products, these yield products, these lending products. And for me, it's very exciting because it's opening it up to billions of people. So DeFi is going to keep growing. Hopefully, more people are going to get involved with it as there are more direct fiat gateways into it. I'm currently working on a project with a well-known bank in the space to offer DeFi products without any crypto knowledge. Like it's my dream to be able to use, my US dollar bank account and earn the yield I'm earning on my Ethereum on some of these pools. So as more projects like ours come online and allow people to get that exposure, I do see a huge advantage in a lot of people getting the DeFi exposure and growing the space. Will it replace all traditional finance? Most probably not.